going to try something different, many different things today. And so I was kind of happy that there was no newcomers because we're going to do some weird things. And if it's like, it's already weird to be at PMC for some of us, but then when we're doing weird things, they might not come back. Or maybe they will. Who knows? Who knows? Thank you. This is great. Yes. Thanks so much. And the second thing that I'm going to do is wear my reading glasses, which I've never done while preaching, because I've come to terms with myself. Because for a while, what I did was I did the monovision lens thing. Do you guys know about this? With one eye, I had one that could look far, and then the other lens, you look for things that are close. And you train your brain to do this so that you can use one eye for far and one eye for that. Well, I did that for like 7 years, and now I can't see anything. So now I have accepted that I need to do this progressive thing, but I'm Asian and I have a low, bridge right here, so then I don't like wearing glasses. But so I'm gonna I'm gonna do this not progressive, reading glasses, but I've never done this while preaching, so I might when I'm looking at you, I want to see you, so I might take off my glasses, but then when I'm reading my notes, I might have to have it on. So if I look a little bit off, you'll know why. And for some of you who are in the same stage as me, you will have a lot of empathy for me, right? Then you have to preach you got to respond to me yes and amen and all of that we're not comfortable with, but we're talking about discomfort today. Why don't we begin? Today we're going to be talking, but I usually have my notes written out, but then I will not today because we're going to be doing a lot of somatic exercises as we talk about trauma. And a little bit, trigger warning. We will talk about trauma. We will talk about, but we will focus mostly on healing. I'm also aware that we have a lot of people who are experts in this field, in this room, which is always a little intimidating because I'm not in that field in terms of, but I am very, very interested in public education, and that's the thing that I've been studying. So all that to say, I'm going to invite all of us to stand. And again, we Mennonites, we like to just sit and think. And today I'm going to get you all out of that. Okay? And we're going to put our hands out. This is a posture really to talk about grief. If you do grief work, this is a posture. Also turning your head one side. This is it's just vulnerable, it's recognizing all that we are and all the grief that we hold. And so we come before God today, grieving for the world. God, we come to you. You created this world, and we have just distorted it and have distorted it in so many ways, and we confess. And we grieve at this world that continues to break, and that breaks your heart. God, we recognize that in our bodies, we carry a lot. And we recognize that today as we stand before you, literally, with our arms stretched, remembering who you are, remembering your Son. God, we come to you not only grieving, but also seeking your embrace. Come, Holy Spirit. Embrace us, touch us, heal us in ways that only you can. In Christ's name, amen. Okay. And you're not done. We're going to be moving a lot. Okay. I'm going to ask you guys to do something. And again, if this is uncomfortable, you are welcome to sit, and that's totally fine. Okay. I'm going to invite you guys to go to a person next. You could start with the person next to you. And we're going to be, one of you will be holding the palm open, okay? And the other person will, maybe Grace, you can come. if you could keep your, we're going to say, the Christ who lives in me lives in you. And then a word of blessing, or close it, and then the other person opens their hand. The Christ who lives in me lives in you. Does that make sense? This is how we're going to greet each other today, y'all, okay? So you're going to have to do this. The Christ who lives in me lives in you. And then we do a blessing, close it, and then you go to the other, and then the other. And if you feel like there's somebody that you need to do this with, go to that person. They might not be sitting next to you. I'll give you about a few minutes to do this work. The Christ in me lives in you. Thank you. You can be seated. There are many ways to greet each other. We say sometimes, peace be with you. And there are many ways to just pass the peace with each other. I invite you to be uncomfortable today. I became interested in this topic of trauma and healing because of who I am. I am Korean American. I grew up with, I came to America when I was 8 years old, and some of you guys know my story. My father served in the Korean War when he was 17. So he had PTSD, which we didn't name until 40 years after, right? And so there was this open secret in my family that my father, when he has his episodes, that it would be, is he sick? And it was like, yeah. He's sick when he has these episodes, right? We don't know what they are. It's just he's acting strange, and we didn't know what it was. And so I didn't know how that really, but you guys know when is he sick, your body starts squirming, and we kind of look at each other, and just the whole family shifts in the way that we do life. Some of you have families with PTSD, but some of you have different stories of trauma, and you know when that is right before you, it's undeniable. Didn't know how to deal with that. I didn't know that was even related to my father's experience with war until much, much later. This is like when I'm little. The only story that I know when I was growing up here was this one paragraph of Koreans. I don't know about you, but some of you who are like of a different ethnicity, you always look at the back of the history book to see if there's going to be any mention of your people. And it's like Korean, I go like Korean, maybe Guatemala, right? And you like look for that. And there's only like one paragraph, and that one paragraph is war. And it's a paragraph, right? And I'm like, oh, at least it's there. There's Koreans. And that's about it, right? Later on, I start connecting all these things. And so in search of like trying to make sense of my life, I started understanding, wait a minute. Oh, like this and this connects. And then 92 LA riot happens. And there are all these store owners on top of buildings holding guns and trying to protect their store. And I'm like, where is this coming from? And realize later, oh my goodness, they actually know how to use this because they were all conscripted to the military. And so then maybe my dad's not the only person. Maybe it's a whole generation and there's this silence about this. Again, I'm trying to make sense of of my life and how to make sense of all this. And where does my faith fit into all of this? Now I can't read, so I have to go back. Again, fast forward, I'm connecting all of these dots, and my husband and I started a peace center 10, 11 years ago, and we started thinking, maybe this isn't just our story, this is maybe like a lot of people's story, and maybe we need to start talking about this in ways that are relatable, right? Like, because Korea's still divided. It's been 70 long years and it's still divided. And maybe the division and the splits that we see constantly in our churches, because 95% of the people that I know in Korean American immigrant churches have split. And I'm like, maybe there's something there, right? Maybe we should connect these things. So we started doing this work of trauma, understanding trauma, how that continues to affect genetically, right? Culturally, history, epigenetics, and all of these words. And so then people were really interested in the work that we do. And then we had an intern several years ago, brilliant young woman, who's now about to go to college. And I was, we're like, oh, this is the work we do. She wants to intern for us, and said, yeah, this is what we do. This is a history, and she's really interested in history. And then she said, Auntie Sue, she said, Auntie Sue, do we always have to start our story with war? She said, I want to start with our mythology. Sophomore in high school, she's going to Yale. Okay. She just shifted my perspective of how we go about talking about who we are. I don't want to start anymore learning from this young student. Yes, war is part of my history, and it impacts who I am. But you know what? That's not where I want to begin. My people are not just people who are victims of colonialism. Yes, we are, but we are more than that. Go back. What are the original stories that have been told? And that's what I want to claim. And that's where I think healing can begin. And so, not only do I want to talk about trauma, but I want to talk about healing. And that healing is found not just up there, but healing is found here. That God has given all of us, all of our history to our ancestors, the tools that we need to heal. But what happens is when I come to America, I'm disconnected from those stories. I don't discover them until I actively look for them in my adulthood. And that is really the story of so many of us who are from a different culture, right? We don't know. We just have to know about American history, right? We need to know George Washington. We need to know the order of all of the presidents. We need to know the colonies, the 13 colonies. I have no idea what this is, but you have to learn these things. And it's not until I went to college that I'm like, oh, we have our own story? Oh, it's not just Greek mythology, right? And I started to kind of slowly dig. And this is the invitation that I have for us all, is that what we need is already here. And it's not, and I see this with scripture. Like, new creation is here, right? It has Jesus dying on the cross, and resurrection has given us not just new thoughts, it's a new order of life. It's new creation. Things have shifted. We need to tap into that. Instead of just saying, God, do something. It's living into and tapping into what God has already revealed to us through Christ. And that is something that's really hard if we're trying to do this alone. We don't do this alone. And that is the best thing about it, is we do this together. And what this society and what this world will do is to try to isolate you. You're the only one who has experienced this thing. Nobody understands what you're going through. But if you continue to dig, if you continue to connect with the people, you find out, oh my goodness, this question has been asked for hundreds of years or decades, or oh my goodness, people in the 50s have thought about these questions, right? Like, we're just amazed. But it's this disconnection. It's this disconnection that we don't know. And so this is why we meet people. This is why we come to church. You can worship God at home. And a lot of people, desert fathers, right? Desert mothers, they were able to worship alone. What we do when we come to church is to remind each other, to know that we are not doing life alone, right? And also to recognize that what we do, our stories, maybe need a little tweaking. Some of us have stories that are so ingrained in our heads of what we have been, who they are, who we are, that it's really hard to figure out any differently. So there's a difference between narratives and stories, right? We need to zoom out. We have siblings, same stories, different narratives. We have children, same household, same story we thought, totally different narratives. Right? So maybe we need to examine our narratives of the stories that we have. You know, my mom passed away when she was 50, so she was younger than me. That was hard. And so when my mom passed away, my story of her was the suffering immigrant woman, you know, who never had a vacation, always worked at the store. My father's mental illness really impacted her, and that's why she died of aneurysm. That's like my narrative. And I had her diaries for a long time, but I just couldn't read it. And the penmanship, Korean in handwriting, is like not something that I could read. But as I was turning 50, I felt like I had to go revisit her diaries. And I saw the day that I was born. I'm like, what did she say? What did she write? And all the gifts that people gave her, like when they were visiting her at the hospital, like bananas. Because bananas was a real thing, right? Like it was a big deal. There were times when she said she went out to a little restaurant with my dad, like Astro Lounge or something like that, something American sounding, right? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, my narrative of my poor mother, she actually had a different story maybe than what the narrative that I have of her. I don't know the full story. Maybe there were moments of joy. There are moments of exhilaration that I don't know, that I never knew, right? And so I'm like, oh, I don't know the whole story. And like, of course you don't know the whole story, but we live as though we know the whole story of everybody and everyone in our lives, and we do not. And that is sobering and humbling. I wanted to look at the passage today. Yeah, and so the question that I wanted to ask was, what are the narratives that we live by? Paul invites us to a new narrative in 2 Corinthians chapter 4. He's reminding us we are resurrected people, that we have what we need. He says, we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. We are hard-pressed on every side but not crushed, perplexed but not in despair, persecuted but not abandoned, struck down but not destroyed. We are resurrected people. We will not be broken. And as I was reading this, I was thinking of the Palestinian movement, right? Every side, not crushed, perplexed. I don't get it. What is happening? Not in despair. Persecuted but not abandoned. Struck down, not destroyed. We always carry around in our body the death of Jesus so that the life of Jesus may also be revealed in our body. I love that these words of bodies, it's so important because we're resurrected people, and in our theology, our bodies matter. But so much of our theology of our bodies have been ignored. And we need to reclaim that. For we who are alive are always being given over to death for Jesus' sake, so that his life may also be revealed in our mortal body. I love that this death and life continues to coexist. It's not like because we're resurrected people, death is no longer, it's not part of our lives. It is part of our lives, but we have this narrative that is not going to be the end. Yes, death is present before us, but life is also fully present in our bodies. So I wanted to also give you this image as we think about trauma. Trauma usually traps us, right, in our bodies. It's trapped somewhere, right? It's not fully released. And so it's hard for us to even tell our stories when we have a lot of trauma, because part of it gets stuck and we can't fully tell it. Have you ever had that experience? You talk about something and then you just realize, ooh, I can't tell it. And we can't think out of trauma. We have to our bodies help us release ourselves from that trauma. So that, yes, it is still part of my story, but it no longer binds us. I couldn't tell the story of my father's PTSD for the longest time. And if I did, I would just tear up. But now, I can still tell it, but it's no longer trapped. There is release, there is forgiveness, there is just freedom to tell that story without the pain. The pain is still there, but it doesn't hold me. Does that make sense? And I'm sure all of you have experienced that. So I would like for us to compost our trauma. Yeah. It is a foundation to build and to heal. It takes a lot of digging, flipping, adding leaves, letting it sit, and transforming it into something nourishing. So I invite us to compost our trauma. Some of you know, I am a doer. I don't like to sit and meditate on my sadness. But that is the invitation, to recognize what is happening. And so some of you, the little ones, do you guys have the flip charts? If you have the clipboards, it probably has like a hand, picture. I invite you all, if you have it, you could color it. You're already coloring it, thank you. And I think I'm not the only doer in this group. I think Mennonites, we like to be doing something about our faith, doing something. And so I've also noticed in the wider church, as I meet with different people across, we don't like to talk about our feelings. But I also know in our Mennonite history, a lot of us ethnic Mennonites have a lot of trauma from resisting, from standing in a nonviolence. That is really hard. And I really treasured your story of your grandfather. Like, that is real, right? To stand, to be a conscientious objector, took a lot on his body, right? A person who can tell his story so well can't. His body chokes up probably closes up, right? And so this is a simple exercise that I'm going to teach you all to sit with our emotions at times, okay? So we're going to do finger holds, and some of you know what finger holds are, right? So we're going to hold our thumb, and our thumb is connected to, when are times when you are really sad? You know when babies get really sad? They suck their thumb, right? When they're crying, they got to suck something so that's a reminder that you could, when you can't, you're like, I don't even know what I'm feeling. Just hold your thumb and think about the things that make you really sad and sit with it. Rather than God, I'm really sad, and just move it from my life, right? God, this breaks my heart and I'm so sad about this, right? I just got a text this morning from a friend whose father passed away last fall, and it's his birthday tomorrow. She misses him. Sit with the sadness instead of saying everything's going to be okay. Right? Sitting with the sadness. Your pointy finger are connected to your fears. Ooh, what's that? When we get scared, we point at things and we go, oh my gosh, what's that? What's that? What's that? Right? And so your finger, your pointer, what are you scared about? What do you fear? And sit with that. We're fearful of a lot of things. We don't like to name it because some of us are fighters. Oh yeah, I'm going to take that down. But what are we afraid of? Yeah, Lynn told me about UCLA this morning, and she's like, Mom, can you pray that these students will be protected? I said, yeah. And we've seen some videos going viral of parents who are super proud of their kids, for protesting, but also very scared for them. That's real. We sit with that. Well, you guys will probably guess what the middle finger means. When you're angry. And this is kind of a universal language, and I hope that our children are not going to say, Mom, I'm just expressing my feelings, but they might be. And that's okay, even at church. But just don't direct it at me. No, I'm just kidding. Just sit with your anger. I preached about anger. We can be angry. Anger can be a constructive thing, and sometimes it's destructive. Hold that. And think about the things that angers you, righteous or unrighteous. The fourth finger are things that you're worried about, especially in relationships. Okay? It has a ring. It's our ring finger, right? So marriage or relationships that you're committed to, people that you're committed to that you're worried about. You hold that and you pray for them. And then the pinky is one when you're feeling small, when your confidence and your self-esteem feels really low. Like, who am I? Am I even worthy of anything? Of my job, of my family, of friends? When you feel really unworthy, this is the small finger that you can hold. And sometimes, some of us who have insomnia, don't look at your phone. Just do your finger holds first. And it could be it doesn't matter which hand, but if there's one that's just sit with those feelings, help it to be named, to recognize that they're there. And maybe those are good guides for you guys as you are doing your finger exercises. Okay, you could shake it off, okay, because sometimes there's extra energy and we need to move that along. Okay. The other one for our families, do you guys know about this one? Okay, this is our brain. Pretend that this is our brain, right? And when you feel like your brain is no longer just functioning fully, okay, that your just primordial fight, freeze mode is there, and you're not ready, you can't talk, because you know this is not going to go well. You can just use a hand signal. Okay? And this means my brain has flipped right now and I cannot talk. Does that make sense? So I'm not going to do the whole brain thing with you, but this is, right? Your brain is not fully functioning. It's kind of like this. So don't come. And this is also a very universal pose, right? I'm open, but I'm also protecting myself. Okay? So this is a really helpful pose to have. Or you could go like this, I'm open, but right now this is where I am. Okay? And this will be our secret code for our church people. Okay? If somebody is having, if we have a difficult meeting, and you feel like maybe the tension in the room we're not going to have a productive meeting, we can do this. And we could just say, it looks like a lot of us are like this right now. So that's another one. Of course, another thing that we can do is eating, eating well, eating together, right? Singing. Did you guys hear us when we were singing this morning? We sounded really, really amazing, okay? We're not good at talking about emotion, but we are good singers. Okay, and thank you for leading us into and choosing these beautiful songs. We need to sing more to heal together. Breathing. Grace, before we even started getting ready for worship, she invited us to breathe, just kind of centering ourselves. There's so many different breathing techniques, right? Which one's your favorite? Do you guys have one that you guys do practice regularly? Which one? Yeah.
Through the mouth, but just release breathing.
Yeah. So some of us do like box prayers. Have you guys done those? Like you inhale 4, you hold 4, you release 4, and then you rest 4. So it's like a box. It's really easy. Let's try it. Ready? And I'm just going to say inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Rest, 2, 3, 4. Does that make sense? Okay, but I'm going to make you feel uncomfortable again. When we do the exhale, I'm going to ask you to make a sound. Okay? So it's not like just pretty sound, but like, oh, it actually helps. Believe me, okay? All right, close our eyes. And inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. And rest, 2, 3, 4. How did that feel when we did a collective ah? Yeah. We heal together, but we also have to do these practices by yourself so that you can do this together, or else you sound a little loony, right? Yeah. Being in nature. I don't even have to tell you all about that. And that's why we're going camping, right? Who's going camping? Yeah, some of us are going camping. It's awesome. Being in nature is the most healing thing. It gives us perspective of what's happening. What else would you like to add? What else would you like to add to this list? Yes? Water. Absolutely. Drinking water. Yep, that's so huge. Thank you.
Is that being in water?
Being in water.
Drinking is good too, but yeah, being in water.
Yes. It's kind of scary sometimes, but then once you're immersed, you're good, right? Being in water, absolutely. Anything else?
Being creative.
Being creative with like what?
Flowers, art, drawing.
Absolutely. Yeah, when we feel stuck, use our hands. Use our hands. Yep, absolutely. Didn't Andrea give a beautiful sermon about using hands, right, during times of crisis? Absolutely. Yes?
Physical touch, like hugs.
Yes, physical touch. One of the ways to calm people down, and you could do this in pairs, but we're not going to do it right now. Put one of your hand to your forehead, and then your other hand to the back of your neck. This is the most calming thing that you can do to just calm yourself when you feel really, really overwhelmed. And sometimes you could ask someone, like your partner, to just do this for you. And it is another one would be like holding right here and holding right here. I know these are weird things to do, but we talked about discomfort today. This is another really wonderful way. These little exercises come from a practice called Capacitar, and it's an organization that really uses integrative tools to take it to the most marginalized people, places where there's not a lot of mental and health care available. And so I love what they do, just really, really simple things, okay? And so one thing that I wanted to do, but I don't know if, maybe it's too big. Okay, so then I was gonna do like a Korean dance.
Do it.
Yeah? Okay, but we have wires and stuff, so be careful. Maybe not come here, but we're gonna get in a circle, big circle. Big circle, let's do it. Outside the chairs, please, outside the chairs. We're gonna make one big, and Jenny and Steve, I don't know if you know 강강술래, but we're gonna do a little bit of 강강술래. We need people in the front. Oh yeah, maybe we can come here so we can avoid the wires. Yep, come to the aisles. Yep. Maybe we're not as big as I thought. Like just one big circle, but close enough. Okay. Oh, no, let's do outer circle. Sorry, outer circle. Or, sorry, you guys can stay and this group go out. There you go. Okay. This is called everyone say 강강술래. 강강술래. That's the rhythm. 강강술래. 강강술래. Na. They're gonna say things and you guys 강강술래. Okay, and this is simple. Okay, and this. Okay, Koreans don't dance usually in public. Like Chinese people, they have like Tai Chi and they do a lot of like Vietnamese culture. There's a lot of like outdoor dancing. Well, Koreans. That's why I joined you all. We don't dance, so I thought this is terrible that we don't dance. But then this morning I was waking like 5 in the morning. I woke up. I'm like 강강술래. We're gonna do 강강술래 because this is actually it was usually done by women. Women in Confucian society can't gather much, and they definitely don't dance. But once or twice a year, they would be allowed to gather and dance during the autumn festival when the moon is full and in the dark. Without music, they would do this dance. Okay? They would get in a circle and now it's all like technical, but basically all you have to do is we're going to move like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're just going to go to the right. Okay? Can we do this? And if you can't cross your legs, don't worry. We're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now we're going to say 강강술래. Ready, go. 강강술래. We're going to go. 강강술. Oh, you got to hold hands. 강강술래. 강강. Now you got to put a little bit of rhythm. This is going to be challenging for us, okay? 강강술래. 강강술래. Dance, 강강술래. 강강술래. 강강술. Okay, all right. Not bad. Next time we'll do formations. Okay? Maybe at camp. Okay? But that is the basic thing. Okay? We just go to the left and then we do like all kinds of funky things. I love these motions because they act like frogs. They look like they're pulling these like roots. It's just like these are beautiful things that people do. And this is what the women did. And I love that they were able to still express themselves and use their body in a Confucian society where they couldn't. So thank you for doing this. Yes. There's different ways. There's different ways of interpreting. They were like Chinese characters. They think it's a original Korean song, a word. They don't quite know. It's kang. It means circle. And sometimes it's like a warning. So some people think that it was like a warning to stay in circle because of danger. And so I kind of like that as well. Thank you so much.